talk about the programmatic landscape, which is the new, the next, and the best. And to moderate this session, let me call upon Bharat Khatri. Bharat is a strategic digital marketer with over a decade of experience across digital and sales domains. In his current role as country head, he leads the client development and oversees operations and publisher partnerships to deliver best-in-class programmatic solutions for his brands. Welcome, Bharat. He is the country head of Zaxis.
Thank you, Shaini, for the introduction. And thank you for giving us the good start to this session of AdTech Talk. Welcome, viewers, and thank you for joining. I think everyone is joining from the new epicenter, which we call home. So a big thanks to you for taking out the time and joining this track of AdTech Talk, where probably we'll discuss and demystify the new, the next, and what's best programmatic has to offer to the overall digital ecosystem. I would request, Shaini, maybe we can start with the polling questions straight away because we want to keep the session more interactive with all our viewers and the audiences. So I would request maybe you can post the first question. And in the meanwhile, while the audience is sharing their views and the thoughts and inputs, I would quickly like to introduce my panelist today for the session. So firstly, I would like to introduce Nikhil. Nikhil is a seasoned leader with strong management experience across consumer internet technology, SaaS companies. Nikhil also led leadership roles in global companies and startups like Google, Reliance Jio, Housing.com, Yatra.com. In a career spanning of 20 years, Nikhil has successfully scaled businesses, built iconic brands, led high-performance teams, and in the turnaround in high-growth situations. A very warm welcome, Nikhil.
Thank you so much, Bharat. Glad to be here.
And I would also like to introduce someone who don't need any formal introduction in the programmatic landscape, but I will do the due diligence for this AdTech track. I would like to give a very round of warm welcome to Prab V. Same, which we all know as Prab as well. Prab is head of Google Marketing Platform for India, where he works with various industry partners to harness the power and the use of Google Marketing Suite. Google Marketing Platform is a unified audience and advertising platform for smarter marketing and better results. Prior to Google, Prab was working over the last 6 years with digital business practices. And I believe the best thing what I learned from Prab that he operates at the intersection of media and technology and is someone very passionate about the transformative role what digital technology has to play in the overall media landscape. Welcome, Prab. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Bharat. Hey, Nikhil.
Yeah. Cool. So I think in the meanwhile, we are still collecting the audience poll, and I think this poll is also on the AdTech LinkedIn page. So this session is being live broadcasted on the LinkedIn page of AdTech. So till the time Shaini collects the poll results, I would also like to throw in some point of view, and I would request Prab and Nikhil also maybe to share their elevator pitch. So I understand in the today's environment, the elevators are moving very fast. So maybe if you can take 1 minute of your time, what will be your elevator pitch to the audiences on the programmatic future? We can start with Prab.
My 1 minute pitch for programmatic is the future has been fast forwarded. It is no longer out in 2023 or 2024. I think for us, over the last 100 days specifically, we have seen only acceleration of more scaled, automated, and predictive methods of running digital marketing, which I've not seen in previous years, and it has been unprecedented. So if within the audience, we have people who are saying that what should be my plan for the next 1 year, I would say you would want to change your plan for the next 3 months and get rolling.
Cool. Thank you, Prab. Nikhil, what's your view?
My view is, I at times think about it, it seems surreal to me what's going on. And I'm going back in time almost 20 years. And that famous scene from Minority Report, you know, Tom Cruise walking through this mall and he's being addressed by these ads who know his name and the kind of, things he has bought. I think that time has come. We are living that time, and programmatic is probably one of those things which are bringing it all alive. And like Prab said, I couldn't agree more. I think tomorrow is now. what we thought will be happening maybe 2 years, 3 years down the line, we are seeing that, this whole COVID thing has been accelerating everything. So I guess, people need to just buck up and actually start seeing what they want to do in the next few months rather than planning for next 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, because things are not going to be changed from here ever again.
Understood. And I think we clearly have the polling results as well across LinkedIn and the Zoom session that we are doing. So I can clearly see, I think most of the people have voted for AI, artificial intelligence, as the next big impact on the programmatic landscape. So clearly 53% of people have voted for that. And the next category, if I see, is programmatic TV, and which is around about 44%. And next to programmatic TV is driving personalization, which we are all looking how we can drive personalization in creative, which is almost 43%. And then we have digital out of home, I think, which was the recent buzz for programmatic last year, followed by we have voice activated ads, clearly a journey and a transformation which most of the companies are looking how they can activate voice. And the last is blockchain, which would still say how the near future of connecting the supply chain transparency as well as the ecosystem looks quite promising. So quickly, probably, Prab, I would like to understand more from you, because I think recently Google put some updates around the programmatic TV and the way we are seeing the current COVID environment. Digital and the linear TV is something which is driving maximum amount of spend from advertiser. So what's your view on the programmatic TV?
Definitely, Bharat. And I'll give you two views. One view largely coming in from the world outside of Asia, because that's where some of these things have progressed much faster than what we've seen closer to home in Asia and more specifically in India. In the US, programmatic TV has been around for almost about 3-4 years now. And it's a combination of linear TV or linear broadcast being intervened with advertising through automation, and now more so with connected TVs as an ecosystem which is growing quite rapidly. And we have a few very strong players in that space out in North America. We must be mindful that in North America, we still do not have a large OTT landscape as what we have in India specifically. So what we are seeing happening within the product itself is, of course, we have fair amount of development coming in. We have made some changes in the way our product, which is DV360, addresses the campaign settings for the TV environment. Specifically, you can't run, let's say, a CPA or a CPI campaigns, a cost per install, or cost per action campaign, because the environment is fundamentally different. So we have made some significant changes in the way you can now specifically buy connected TV and OTT within our environment, keeping in mind the goals that it can help deliver when people are advertising on these platforms. So those are the big shifts. But I would say from a broadcast TV perspective, we are far away, at least in this region, to have any significant changes come about.
Understood. And I think on the poll, the second piece which was trending was AI. So Nikhil, any point of view from your side, how your company is looking AI in terms of whether the optimization strategy or building new forms of creative? So what do you think is the role of AI in the current environment and in the future?
Absolutely, it's huge. And in fact, it doesn't surprise anyone that what was yesterday's niche is today's mainstream. Yesterday's hype is, today's reality. A few years back, people used to talk about AI, ML as two loosely held words. But today, I think all of that has come alive. And some of the things that we have been doing is how we can, what programmatic helps our users, our partners, our clients do is to target more granularly. I think today we are moving ahead from just lookalike audiences to predictive audiences, where there can be a lot more signals. And it is a lot more about how you can capture in terms of what is the deeper intention to buy. And that's what everybody is looking for, especially in these times, right? Where the emphasis on ROI is higher than ever before. So with the use of a lot of technology and AI, our DSP tools, our SSP, through that, we are able to offer to all our users, the kind of granular targeting, which I feel is now going to become an industry standard also going forward.
Understood. And what do you think, both Nikhil and Prab, what is the current biggest challenge for the ad tech industry? If you talk about the current scenario and the pandemic in which we are living, what can be one of the biggest challenges that we are facing as an ad tech?
So if I can just go first, what is top of mind, I think, is especially from an advertiser perspective, marketer perspective, I think is brand safety. Because everybody is worried that they should not be, especially in a programmatic world, their ads should appear at the right place at the right time because of the sensitivity. And I think that's one big thing that I think most people are keeping in mind. The second big thing is even more emphasis on trust and transparency. So I think these are the key things that everybody is going to look forward to. And as publishers and ad tech platforms, we will be going forward and ensuring that we are able to take care of these things.
When building on where Nikhil has left, what we have seen is people do grapple with the complexity of this space. I mean, it is not straightforward logging into an interface and you can get things going rather quickly. So when we have introduced these platforms to, I would say quick adopters in the current landscape, A, they've grappled with the complexity of the tools itself. It is fairly complex. B, the quantum of data that it generates is far unimaginable and unmanageable at a human scale. So therefore, a lot of people who have been running digital campaigns in a very ad hoc way, or just operating more like fill it, shut it, forget it, and things will happen magically. They have structured. They've been largely challenged with managing quantum of data and how do you structure that and make it more actionable. Because while programmatic is trying to simplify a lot of things, the quantum of data it generates is quite large for people to grapple with. And lastly, there are costs of using these technologies. And I think a lot of people have not factored that cost when they go down this path. So there are these three things which becomes a bit of an obstacle over and above what Nikhil has just mentioned, just to kind of throw some light what becomes areas of concern for people who are coming on board right now.
Understood. And very interesting, like you said, the one side is the simplification promise which programmatic brings in, and the other side, the complexity of managing this whole ad tech ecosystem. But somewhere down the line, that ray of hope, and I would say the golden buck, is the quantum of data, which you clearly mentioned. So I think there is a quick update which happened like a few weeks back about Facebook doing a massive deal with a telecom in India, Jio. So how do you see this Jio and Facebook partnership coming together, driving that quantum of data into the next leap for the Facebook marketing? And what's your view about these partnerships? Nikhil, any view from your side?
I think one is it's a little too early to comment on that because this partnership has just happened. I think we will be closely watching this space and seeing how it rolls out, because currently I think the partnership has just happened and there is a lot of speculation how it will change the world. So probably it will be important from all of our points to just closely watch this space. I do believe that any kind of larger technology introduction does lead to a change in behavior. Like we all say, there was a world before Jio and there is a world after Jio. So let's see what are some of these things which are happening in the macro environment today. Where do these lead to?
Cool. Rob, any thoughts from your side?
Yeah, I would not want to speculate at this moment. It's too early. So let's wait and watch.
Understood. Cool. And I think something where we probably also talk about the future of programmatic, which we clearly see, we discuss about the connected TV and the AI. Something I would really want your perspective about the voice, considering India as a landscape is clearly the new generation that we are seeing coming on digital is starting their journey from voice. And clearly the search trends of your Google platform also reflects how voice is taking a big leap compared to the traditional way of doing the Google search. So I would really want to understand how voice is the future for programmatic and how you see a combination of voice coming together with the traditional form of different ad formats that we continue to run on programmatic.
So let me take a shot at that, Bharat, and I'll probably take it back to a step before a voice. I think there is a whole concept called audio. And audio has two broad elements. One is just audio that we consume for entertainment or infotainment or education, as the case might be. And then you have voice, which is more personal and more individualistic and more discovery based. So in the programmatic space, there has been fair amount of progress in the audio territory. For example, if you look at digital platform like Spotify, Wink, Gaana, Savan, and a couple of more out there, which today you can buy, I would say, advertising through programmatic means. That is largely sorted, well integrated. It has its own set of challenges because it does not work like a display creative or a video creative. It tends to run in an environment where the device screen is switched off and you're not directly engaging with the advertising when it is being played out. You may have a subsequent reaction to it when you switch on your screen on the phone, or maybe come back to your laptop and try to change something on the playlist. I think on the audio side, there has been progress. On the voice side, my personal view is that it is still a very private space. And while it may be a behavior which is growing from a usage standpoint, it is not the space where we should be putting advertising today. It's a long way to go before you start to even consider advertising, because people have to be comfortable. Imagine yourself, you waking up in the morning and saying, hey, tell me what's the weather today. And it says before it says it's about to rain or it's going to be a cloudy day, it says, would you want to buy an umbrella today? So it kind of takes away the purpose of having that conversation with the device. So I would say specifically voice is a space at my personal capacity not to be tinkered with advertising, but audio definitely is fairly well established and is a platform on which advertisers can take benefit of today.
Understood. Yeah.
If I can just add to what Prabh just mentioned, I tend to agree what he's saying. I think every media has a role to play. And I think while voice overall, it seems to be the way to go for us, especially tier 2, tier 3 India, which is not English speaking, and voice is supposed to be the first port of call for them. But I think there is still a long way to go before we can think of start serving ads there. Audio is something that we are also seeing traction, not only so much in India, but across the world. Programmatic audio seems to be growing. It's also because I think it's a medium where, especially things like podcasts, they are a lot more immersive as a product. And we are seeing there are bigger opportunities there where, advertisers can explore and experiment with. So I guess, I think at least for the next, and I don't want to predict what will happen in next 2 years, but probably next 6 to 8 months, we will see even further, consolidation in the audio space.
Understood. Great. I think clearly, like Prabh and Nikhil, you mentioned, voice is still has to go a big leap when it comes to house play and the video ads that we're doing to build that omni-channel dramatic space. So I'll quickly jump into the audience questions, which is coming on the chat box. So I think there is one question coming around the transparency question on the programmatic supply chain. So clearly, I think, again, few weeks back, I think Google put it across in the public space, the supply optimization and the path and the costs that each element brings into the ecosystem. But there are still debates around the agency models of programmatic. One is, which is more of the all-inclusive model where agency bring the entire product and give a guaranteed outcome, versus a service like a model where clients are still debating that if the media cost is X, how can the ad tech cost be X plus 2? Or people are still defending that if the client budget is 100, why the publisher is only getting 50% of that, and where is the 50% is getting lost, whether it's the tech stack and what's happening in the tech taxonomy space. So open to you, Prabh. What's your view on the get and see the value chain ecosystem building in India?
So I think as Google, we have done some fantastic job in maintaining transparency when it comes to commercials. And about a week or 2 weeks ago, we actually issued a blog post which clearly talks about how the financial ecosystem fundamentally works. And this question largely stems from an ANA report which was published about 4 or 5 years back, which questioned something called as working media. So if a client spends $100, of that $100, what actually is media, so to say, which is being put to use. So as Google, we are fairly transparent on our fee structure, both on the buy side as well as the supply side. Even if you land up using any incremental products, for example, for verification or for dynamic creative or audience integration, as the case might be, the pricing is completely transparent and fully accessible to anybody who is using that particular console. So we have never held back on the transparency side, and I think that'll be an agenda which will remain for a very foreseeable future, where from an advertising end, you will always know what was the exact dollar which was eventually spent or used to run the ad on a certain publisher. What we must also be aware when we ask these questions is a value chain exists everywhere, whether it's advertising on digital or whether it is a fruit which is being delivered to you at your home. And there are businesses which enable that process to happen, right? It does not happen magically. So even to get the fruit from the farmers to your house, there are people involved to bring that down to you. So we must equally be cautioned that if the effective media being spent is just, let's say 95 rupees or $95 as the case might be, that does not mean the actual value of media is 95. There was a $5 incremental value which the technology has brought in, which has made you do what you're doing today. So therefore, while we're raising these questions, we must fully understand and value that there's a value system that exists not only in technology, but every other part of any industry. And therefore, if we try to scrutinize this further, it can only lead to further dismantling of the way things function. So that's my observation, and that's what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks on this space.
So just adding to Prabh here, I feel today transparency is not something that we can debate. It's hygiene. Whether you're an advertiser, an agency, or a user, everybody is demanding that. So that is something that all of us obviously agree with, and all our products, whether it's Google or it is Verizon Media or any other company for that matter, is looking at transparency in a big way and providing that. The other thing that I feel is, I think it's very important to also, like Prabh rightly said, everything has a value chain. And I think businesses and products win when it's a win-win for everyone. It cannot be like, one party is doing better than the other party always. So I think till we approach programmatic in specific and advertising as a whole, that this is, it is solving for a certain purpose, and there are players in this, there are actors in this who will make this happen and make this happen in the most transparent and the most trustworthy way. I think there is a huge opportunity that people can draw from. The other thing that I would say, and I'm just putting my marketer's hat on, is very important to see what is the ROI you are deriving from it. One is to always focus on cost and try to say that, okay, what is the least cost I can get out of whatever money I'm spending on advertising, but then what is the ROI that you're deriving out of it? What is the benefit you're getting out of it? I think so everything has to be looked at in a much more balanced way. And that's what probably will lead to a much better situation for everyone going forward.
Thank you, Nikhil. I think Bharat is facing a little bit of a problem with his internet connection, but let me keep the questions going. So we have Aman Bij, who's asked us, what would be the impact of iGDPR or Apple's new policy on the ad tech industry?
So let me take that question, Shiny, and I think that's one question we get very, very frequently. And it's not only iGDPR, there's GDPR, there's CCPA, and then there are browsers who are taking certain positions in the interest of privacy. So first and foremost, we must understand the context of these changes being driven by the ecosystem. It is bringing back the privacy controls, the privacy option or consent back to the users, to the user's choice. I think that is very, very important. And I deeply remember talking about this in 2018 when we saw this wave coming where users' consent and user choice will become the primary facial factor deciding what personalization he or she would want to be exposed with. And whatever is happening around side is just an outcome of different technology platform taking certain positions. So as time is going to go by, you're going to see more and more constraints on how identifiers operate. And when I say identifier, this is primarily cookies and device IDs. And then on top of that, how the platforms on which these identifiers exist will give choice back to the users to say to whom do you really want to share your data with and to whom you do not want to share your data with. And I think what we are seeing even as product developments and roadmaps that are coming for the next foreseeable future, there is more choice given back to the user to say to where this his or her data actually goes, or where his or her information goes, or where his or her browsing pattern is shared with. So therefore, the industry is adapting and changing. It is definitely putting a lot of pressure on third-party ecosystems, which used to sell audiences. That's under pressure, and they're also changing their ways. But we are looking at a future where, specifically when it comes to audience data, the single source of truth is going to be data that the advertiser is going to be sitting on. It's going to be the website hits, it's going to be the app engagement, it's going to be the app installs, and foreseeably, the people who are walking into your stores or into your outlets and getting to use the services or product, as the case might be. And the dependency on these environments will slowly start to come down. This is very much on the cards over the next 2 to 3 years. So while these changes are happening, there are product changes, there are regulation changes. The ad tech ecosystem is evolving and will adapt to the new guidelines as they come through. What we also get thrown as a curveball is, but this doesn't impact India because India does not have any of these rules or regulations, or the case might be. But India is about a year away before similar laws gets enacted. And therefore, it is better to be future-proof than to be caught in a soup where you do not have these frameworks in place. So that's what we are seeing is happening specific to that question around the world and to India. Nikhil, feel free to add anything on top of it.
Yeah, I think things like PDP, personal data protection laws for India, are also clearly underway, and probably 6 to 12 months we will see them happening. And I'm also combining the next question, which is also again about third-party cookies. I think the world is, as we have all seen, digital keeps on evolving. We moved from third-party cookies very soon to talking about first-party cookies, which are very nicely defined. And I think in our mind, we are now looking at zero-party cookies, which will be not only anybody coming to your website, clicking on ads, looking at your app. It will be also about having their consent, how you are going to use their data. So I think that's where the world is now moving towards. And as publishers and ad tech companies, we are very, very cognizant of that. And I think there will be a totally new world which will emerge, wherein user will have a lot more power in terms of their own data. And that's where I think it's going today.
Clearly. Hi guys, I'm back. Sorry, there was a power failure and a reboot of the system. So thank you, Prabh and Nikhil, I think, for answering that piece. That was also my top of the mind understanding. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for keeping the conversation on. And really, I understand the fact what I think both of you brought in, which was more closer to the Apple policy changes which happened and which is also trending. On that note, because I'm just doing a time check as well, to end the session, I just wanted to check one thing from you. What is the one skill that you guys have learned over the last 3 months during this pandemic?
Okay, I think I can talk about my personal skill. I think I'm sure there are many like me, but my skills towards cooking have grown 100x. That's what definitely I have seen happening last 3 months. So I don't know if this continues for another 3 months. I might be participating in the next MasterChef.
Great, Nikhil. What about you, Prabh?
I've been on the laziest side. I've just said, keep calm, carry on.
Yeah.
I like this style. And on the final note, I think there are a lot of people on the chat box asking how they can start their journey on programmatic on Zoom as well as on LinkedIn. Anyone? We can start with Nikhil.
Sorry, I couldn't hear the question. And just what was that question? You're not clear. Prabh, did you get the question?
He's asking, how do you get started on the programmatic journey?
Chat box,
I guess if the question was how do you get started on the programmatic journey, I guess if you're a marketer looking to do that, you have both Prab from Google and me from Verizon Media. Both of us have solutions which can help you with programmatic. And then we have Bharat to also help there. So yeah, we are there. Just contact us and we'll help you get started.
Yep, drop us your business lead and we shall follow up.
Cool. Thank you both. And thank you, Shiny, for putting this track. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bharat. Thank you, Nikhil and Prab. I think that was a wonderful conversation.